Is a music degree worth it? Today I want to bring up a few points that'll help you decide how you should further your education. What's up, everybody? Lennon Bone here with soundandpatternsmusic.com. If this is your first time here, I want to say thank you so much for being here. I am a composer, musician, and producer, and I started this channel to document my own process more. You can see some of my vlogs on the channel, and also to offer up advice from my 15 years in music, and to help you make a more sustainable living in the new music industry. So is a music degree worth it? I want to come out firing by saying a couple quick things. Number one, I think if you're looking to get a music degree only because someone is telling you that you need to, that should really be weighed heavily, especially when it comes to spending your own money. Because if you're going to spend $30,000 to $100,000 on a college education of your own money, you need to decide yourself if that's actually worth it. And number two, of that, if someone else is paying for your degree, then that's great. But remember, if they're ponying up that much money, there's also going to be their expectation of what you should be doing with that degree. And I know that's heavy, but I think it's important that I be very real regarding this topic, especially given that the industry has changed so much in the last 20 years. And I want to go ahead and say this as well as my number two. I do not have a music degree. I am self-taught on all aspects of the industry. That's not to say that I got it all figured out, because that's far from the truth. That's just to say that, you can go out and do it. And I feel like that's what's hopefully encouraging about my story, is that I have a very average Joe story of somebody that was able to put the time and effort in and go out and have what I consider to be a very successful career. Not necessarily in the spotlight that some people are looking for in this industry, but one that I'm able to make a living and pretty much support my family, and that's a pretty incredible thing. I'm gonna go over a couple things here, and we're gonna look at it all from college as an investment. So I wanna look at it from 3 points of view. Number one, time. Number two, money. And number three, your ROI, or return on investment. So number one, let's look at money, because this is the biggest, this is the elephant in the room, right? When you think about college, you think about money. We accrue all this debt, and then we go out into the real world and expect to just jump into a job. And this is where I feel like we have to weigh what our expectations are within the industry to what the industry actually provides, and whether or not the money spent is worth it. So I did a little number crunching on collegeriskreport.com, and I put in that you would do an in-state tuition for the local conservatory here in my hometown, and that said that you would accrue about $100,000 worth of debt for your college education, and also that the median salary for someone going into the music industry is about $31,500. And so with that said, it says that you should be able to pay off your debt within 3 to 5 years. And I'm gonna say that nearly all of my friends are still paying off their debt in our lower to mid 30s, right? So yes, it's optional, but not terribly likely. You should think about that. That's not a bad thing. There are plenty of options to making sure that your loans get paid off, but just something to be thinking about as you get into your adult life. So we spend that money, and we may or may not get it paid off in the amount of time that we think. And then, we have this issue of, can we actually get a job? And, most of my friends that have salary positions, it took them a good 4 or 5 years to actually land those salary positions. A lot of them just freelanced until then, and that's just the truth of it. The music industry is hard, and having a career in any sort of arts is very, very difficult. So when you're thinking about the money aspect of it, I'd say, unless you're going to be an educator, spending that kind of money really should be weighed heavily. You should decide whether or not you feel like that money is worth it. And that leads us into time spent, because this is where it can lean a little more maybe on the education side, and how that plays out. So the beautiful thing about going to college is that you have, 2, 3, 5 years to really hone in on your craft, really study the theory, your instrument, build your network, which is huge. And so these friends of mine that actually have gone on to have very lucrative careers, they also are in a very tight network that they are in because of college. And I think that's so cool. And so that was something that really worked for them. Now, I would also argue that you have the option to do that same kind of thing without being in college. So for me, I spent 10 years on the road touring all over the US, into Europe a number of times, and that allowed me the opportunity to meet a ton of amazing musicians, and I've been able to, keep those people as my friends, and those people have hired me for things. I've been able to do more because of that network. So there you'll find that I actually invested more time instead of money and kind of ended up with a similar thing. It just took me a lot more time than it did them at the university level, right? So both can be done, but the thing is are you more of an introvert? Are you more of an extrovert? If you're good at like keeping up with people and have really good people skills, I would say that you're able to do a lot of that just on your own time if you can afford to be out doing things, maybe on the road in new pockets of people all the time. That's really important. And I would say that I wouldn't have been able to build my network had I not been touring a bunch and meeting new people all the time. And then finally, we're going to look at our ROI, or our return on investment. So according to this report, the average median salary for someone in the music industry, which makes me laugh because salary positions really hardly exist, is about $31,500. So the last 4 or 5 years, I've made somewhere between $30,000 and $45,000 a year, just to give you some sort of reference. So again, I've ended up in a very similar position as somebody else. So obviously it can be argued that you can really go either way and make it work. So what makes this so tricky now, guys, is the following. The music industry has changed so much. So if you want to be a performer or a composer or something like that, you can go and get an education, but you can also get that education from someone that you seek out. Okay, there are plenty of options. I myself have been taking some music theory classes online. You can do that for anywhere between $30 and $100 for an hour from some really incredible teachers. And then the same goes for your instrument. So if you're self-motivated enough to spend the practice time and then see a teacher, then that's an option too. And maybe you have to move somewhere to find that teacher, but that's kind of the same as going to university, but without having to spend the extra money on room and board and all that other stuff that you never get back, right? And as far as performance goes, if you're wanting to be a songwriter or in a band or things like that, you're really only going to get better at those by doing it. And yes, you do it in the university level, but again, there are options for mentors, and I want to go deeper into how to seek out a mentor in a different video. But if you're the kind of person that has to do it, that really does this because you love it, because it's your only option, and I mean only option because it's what your soul seeks, it's a calling for you. If that's you, then you're going to find a way to make a living with or without a college education. Really think about that as you're making this decision. And it feels a little bit of pressure for me because I think of someone watching this and I think, well, what if they don't go to school and it kind of blows the whole thing for them? Or what if they go to school and they spend a bunch of money and then, all of a sudden they decide to go be a banker somewhere? Remember this, life is all about going through and picking out the things that you're good at as you move along. As you move forward, you're going to get better at one thing than you were at the previous thing, and all of a sudden doors are going to open that you didn't expect. Your 5-year plan becomes worthless because now you've got a new skill set that you weren't ready for, and next thing you know, you're making a living doing this other thing, but you've stumbled across it only because you're seeking out the thing that you love. And then the thing that you love leads you into this other thing that you now love to do, and that starts to make you some money. I mean, you can monetize so much now with the internet that it's insane. Yes, there's a lot of weight to deciding whether or not you should go to college, but don't put so much weight on it. Don't feel like this is going to make or break you. If you have persistence, patience, and good self-awareness, then you're going to be just fine. So go after the thing that you love to do. And if this video has been helpful in you making a decision, I'd love to know how. And also, if you've gone to university or to college and you want to express to someone your experience, please leave that in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinion on it as well. And if you dig this video, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell if you want to go that deep. And if you like it, please like this video. That actually does help me a lot. Appreciate you being here. Best of luck in your pursuits and your endeavors. I love all you guys. I really want the best for you. So thank you so much for being here.